How you doing, everybody? It's Jeff C. here on Tuesday, June the 11th, and I come to you today with the latest on the police state. Since this whole NSA thing has broken, the whistleblower coming out, Edward Snowden, I think probably the most disheartening, disappointing thing I've seen is this, what I'm about to show you here. This is from the Daily Mail. Poll: massive opinion swing shows most Democrats criticize Bush-era NSA surveillance, but now love Obama's version. 56% of Americans overall say that government tracking of phone records is an acceptable way to fight terrorism. The number is heavily weighted towards Democrats, 64%, who support the NSA. Under George W. Bush in 2006, just 36 or 37% of Democrats agreed with NSA snooping. And Republican support for the NSA surveillance also drops now that Obama is in charge, swinging more modestly from 75% to 52%. 56% of Americans have no problem with the police state. How fucked up is that? You know, how fucked up is that? I know there's a lot of dumb people out there, right? There's a lot of fucking dumb people out there. All you gotta do is turn on the TV to understand that. But, this is the worst kind of stupidity that can exist. To willingly allow the government to spy on you, you know, in the name of security. You will never get your freedom back. It doesn't go the opposite way. When you give it up, it is gone. You have to fight. You have to kill to win it back. You have to war. You people, you 56% of Americans who don't have a problem with the government tracking your phone records, your internet, your fucking everything you do online with a cell phone, everywhere you go, every video and photograph you take, they're collecting it all. Is that hard to understand? How what kind of a sane democratic world would find that acceptable? Right now, the founding fathers, they are literally rolling in their graves. I mean, seriously. What an insult to what America is. I guess you can say they've been very successful in dumbing down the herd. You know, yes, there's more people waking up, but when you have numbers like this that are in support of a police state, that are convinced somehow that there's a lot of bad people out there that want to blow up their little town, that are convinced that 19 Muslims armed with box cutters carried out the greatest attack against America on American soil in the history of America. I mean, it's the kind of stuff that it feels like a punch in the stomach. You know, it doesn't matter what is revealed. It doesn't matter who comes forth, how many whistleblowers there are, how many fucking scandals this fucking psychopath has. It doesn't fucking matter. Because people are going to listen to Wolf Blitzer. They're going to listen to Bill O'Reilly. They're going to listen to whoever, Aaron, whatever her fucking name is, Wall Street. They're going to listen to these clowns, Piers Morgan, and they're going to think somehow that the government is doing this because it cares about the people. Could it be worse than this guy? There's never been a worse president than this man here. I don't even want to call him Mr. President. I call him Mr. fucking asshole if I met him in person. I wouldn't even give him Mr. You're a fucking asshole. This guy needs to be impeached. Now. So let's take a little bit look at this article here. NSA snooping scandal broke on Thursday shows that more than 1/4 of self-identified Democrats disapproved of the agency's surveillance program under the George W. Bush administration, but now approve it under the stewardship of Barack Insane Obama. The National Survey from Pew Research Center and the Washington Post found that 64% of Democrats approve of the NSA, quote, getting secret court orders to track calls of millions of Americans to investigate terrorism. Only 34% voiced disapproval. When the state creates terror to take away the rights of human beings, to take away the rights of citizens, it is the greatest affront to democracy that can be carried out. When the state continually creates these acts of terrors, which are better known as false flags, in order to destroy what is left of the Constitution, then what you have is the destruction of democracy and the complete overthrow and control now by the police state. So, even the Republicans are coming out in support of this. It's the political left and right are closer in their opinion of whether the NSA is justified in monitoring emails if it might prevent future terror attacks. Among Democrats, 53% found the practice acceptable. Republicans showed 45%. The Post reported Tuesday morning that 69% of Democrats say that terrorism investigations, not privacy, should be the government's main concern. An 18% point jump from early January 2006. I don't even know if there is coming back from this. I feel like I'm getting repeatedly punched in the stomach here. It doesn't matter what we reveal of these motherfuckers. Doesn't matter how many whistleblowers come out to show that they are hell-bent on destroying every single freedom that still exists within the United States and the rest of the world. And yet the sheeple refuse to do anything about it. Well, even Bill O'Reilly slammed the NSA, saying it's unconstitutional. It should be shut down immediately. Good for you, Bill. For once I agree with you. But left-wing television host Bill Maher came down in support of the NSA. Of course, he's a fucking goddamn limousine liberal son of a bitch. I'm okay with it. Now that Obama's in office, he said on his HBO talk show. Fucking cocksucker. Joining him in the voice of support are South Carolina GOP Senator Lindsey Graham, of course. Conservative Fox News Channel pundit Charles Krauthammer and former General Electric CEO Jack Welch. None of whom generally are Obama cheerleaders. But of course, they're not Obama cheerleaders, but they have no problem with the police state because they're high up in the echelons and they know what's coming. And they're excited, and they know that Obama is just happens to be there for the sheeple. Graham, good old war-mongering Graham, said, I view Mr. Snowden's actions not as one of patriotism, but potentially a felony. I hope we follow Mr. Snowden to the ends of the earth to bring him to justice. So the guy that comes forth is to show that the National Security Agency is destroying all the personal freedoms of the Americans is now they're going to stop at no ends to kill this guy or capture him, stick him in Gitmo or whatever, torture him. In contrast, Wisconsin Republican Paul Ryan, the GOP's vice presidential nominee in 2012, told WRN Radio on Monday that the NSA spying program comes across as creepy. To do a blanket dragnet nationwide, he said, that seems to go way beyond the scope of the law that I'm familiar with, called the Patriot Act. Well, I'm surprised to hear Mr. Ryan say that, but good for him. House Speaker, though, John Boehner disagreed, calling Snowden a traitor during an interview on ABC News. The president outlined last week that these were important national security programs to help keep Americans safe. He said, and give us the tools to fight the terrorist threat that we face. It's a sick fucking joke. It's the sickest joke of all. You know, it's the sickest joke of all. Terrorism. Terrorism. Your chances of being killed by a terrorist, well, I think they said you're more likely to get struck by lightning 3 times in your life than get killed by a terrorist. The terrorists that are carrying out these things are the ones in charge. The terrorists are the state. So the state commits the acts in order to convince the sheeple that it needs to destroy their freedoms in order to bring in, well, it needs to destroy their freedoms in order to protect the sheeple. I don't know, man. This just makes me sad. And if you look on the side here, this is kind of off topic here, but this is Daily Mail, and look at this shit. Female today. Look at this crap they put on the side here. This is how they managed to keep everybody so stupid with this fucking crap. It's just awful. It's awful what it's gotten to. This should be the end of Obama. The NSA should be the end of Obama. The Benghazi should have been the end of Obama. James Corbett. I'm a big fan of the Corbett Report. He, for those of you who don't want to be yelled at when you're getting your information, Alex Jones, here's a man to follow who is not making millions of dollars selling you tangerine or whatever. And he understands the gravity of this situation. So let's listen a little bit on Mr. Corbett and what he has to say.
So it's important to note that this is nothing new, but if you point out that this is happening, they're going to try to label you as a conspiracy theorist. I'm here today to tell you it's now okay to be a conspiracy theorist. Just for the moment, just for this one issue, if this is the issue that gets through to you, just for this moment, please, please snap out of the conditioning that you've been placed under, that word, conspiracy theorist, means that you're some crazy person who has to be shunted off to the side of societies. We are now all conspiracy theorists, because we now understand that the NSA truly is copying all of the electronic information that's flowing through the American data centers 100%, and storing it and data mining it and tracking it and tracing it to the point where independent contractors who are contracted for companies that work with the NSA have all of that data at their fingertips. Again, this is not coming from me. This is coming from Edward Snowden. It's coming from the inside. You know this. You're getting upset about it. You're wondering what to do about this. And there are organizations out there that are telling you you now have to go and write to the very congressmen and women who were the ones who oversaw this whole process and petition and beg and implore them to somehow fix this for you again. Please restore our constitutional rights. Please restore the Fourth Amendment that you took away from us. Pretty please. I'm here today to tell you that that is not going to be the long-term solution to this problem, because the problem is being hardwired into the infrastructure of the internet and the electronic communications technologies that we use themselves. This is something that has been hardwired in the back door for 2 decades now through something called the Communications Assistance for Law Enforcement Act. It's called CALEA, C-A-L-E-A. Please look it up for yourself. And once again, you will hear conspiracy theory labels. Please ignore them because they are meaningless. So once you look up CALEA and you look at the history of how this has been embedded in the architecture of the very technology itself, it's time to realize that this system that we're using, that we've been put on with the Googles and the Apples and the Microsofts and all of these other major companies that are now actively and openly collaborating with the NSA, is an infrastructure that is designed to track and surveil everything you do. If this concerns you, if you want to get off of this system, unfortunately, there is no way to do it with the technology that we have been given and the technology that we are continuing to pay our dollars for so that it can track and surveil us. So if you are out there, you're thinking about getting the new Microsoft Xbox One, please know it is a surveillance system. The German privacy minister said that it is the most twisted surveillance nightmare that he's seen in technology in quite some time. It has a microphone, it has a camera, it is always on, it is listening to you, and we now know Microsoft does collaborate with the intelligence agency and apparatus of the United States. Once again, this is not conspiracy theory, or if you want to put it that way, we are all conspiracy theorists, because conspiracy fact is all around us. So please snap out of the conditioning and realize that buying more googads and trinkets from Google and Microsoft and Apple and the other big name players is not going to be the solution. There are solutions, but unfortunately it's not easy to implement, and it does mean us taking personal responsibility for what we choose to purchase with our dollars and what we choose to do with our time. It means such things as getting on the wireless mesh network alternative to the internet, pirate internet, homegrown internet that's not going to be as efficient and it's not going to be as good in the early stages while it's being built up. But if we don't act independently to build up this system, then we are acquiescing to the surveillance state that's going on right now. And we are in that crucial juncture of time right now where we as a society are making the decision whether all of this crazy 100% surveillance that they are now openly admitting is going on is either going to be fundamentally hardwired into the system or we are going to reject it. And it is our choice to make, because once again, we purchase this technology from these companies and we sign on to the ISPs that have their backdoors in with the NSA. So once again, if we look into things like wireless mesh networking, if we start taking manufacturing and other things down to the local level with 3D printing, then there is no way that they can stop this fundamental grassroots revolution that's going on. So once again, this is for the irate minority that is just waking up, just at discovering that there's something fundamentally wrong with this system. And I'm not going to stand here and tell you everything that's going on. There's a lot to catch up with if you're just joining the alternative media. So please, please, please use the back archives of boilingfrogspost.com. Go through the subjects that we've been covering, including NSA warrantless wiretapping, for years and years and years. And please start questioning the system and do not give in to the conspiracy theorist label. Do not let them put this back under the rug by trying to paint anyone who questions what's happening as crazy. Now, for those of you who are part of the irate minority and are Boiling Frogs Post subscribers or people who watch on a regular basis, thank you for your support, and please get this message out to anyone you know who is right now on the fence, who is right now waking up to just how pervasive and problematic this is. Because right now is the prime window of opportunity where we can let people know what's really happening, because they are now more receptive than ever. So this is an extremely important moment in time. It is ours to use. Let's make the right decision, not just for our sake, but for the sake of the future course of humanity itself.
Yeah. Very well said, Mr. Corbett. As usual. He mentioned the Xbox One there. I did a thing on it a month or so ago. It is absolutely a surveillance system, and you should not buy it or any Microsoft products. Unfortunately, Apple, Google, the like, all these other tech companies are all on board. They wouldn't be getting these massive contracts and lots of money on the side if they weren't putting the hardware and the software in that will watch everything you do and will record everything you do. One thing we have to keep in mind always is that the mainstream media loves to downplay the significance of things. I can't stress enough. I cannot stress. I have said it since this show has started. They have been watching us. They've been watching everything we do. They've been collecting all the data. Now, it's all confirmed. Okay? If you haven't seen the Snowden interview that I put up, and it's all over the internet, you must watch it because he makes it very clear that they are not just collecting metadata, as they call it. They are collecting everything. That means if you sent a photo at some time of yourself somewhere on the internet, right, it is in their archives. If you did a video, maybe it's something embarrassing, maybe your emails, maybe you're having relationships secret, who knows. The reality is that I think that they built this whole system for the specific purpose. It's the perfect way. I mean, it could be argued at some point, I'm sure, maybe others have argued it, that the internet was given to us so that they could watch us. That the technology for the internet was tested and was, years and years, maybe even decades ago, before it became released to the public, was already tested. It was already known what it could do. So what James is saying here is that all this software and hardware, it's all been hardwired to monitor and watch everything. It's been like this since day one. So they have been watching us all this time. It's so important. You got to understand, knowledge is power. When you have the power to spy on anyone at any time, and the fact that we are all hooked up all the time, the Microsoft Xbox One, okay, we got to understand what kind of an evil motherfucker Bill Gates is, all right? But beyond that, the Microsoft Xbox One is supposed to be online all the time. That means that camera and that microphone are going to be recording everything you do. And the camera is one of the most sophisticated that has been released for general public, apparently. And it can recognize your face, it can recognize your voice, it can differentiate between you and other people in the room. And when somebody else it doesn't recognize comes in the room, it immediately stops and asks, who is this person? State your name, your age, your birth date, whatever fuck, right? That's where it's going. And they've got the sheeple so dumbed down that they're going to take it. Unless we start banging the drums loud enough and wake people up right fucking now. When you talk about repulsive human beings, we could throw this guy in with it, but let's listen to a quick little segment here of Ron Paul and how he's reacting to this NSA.
Paul, if you had been president, which you could have been, you ran for office this time and you could have won. If you had been president,
Yeah, right.
Are you in all seriousness telling me that you would have stopped all of this tracking of data in the way that the NSA has been doing it?
An awful lot of it, but it wouldn't be stopped. You would still have you would still have your transparency. I mean, you'd still have your intelligence gathering, but it would be done under the law. You would have probable cause, and you would have courts. This idea that you can go to the FISA court and get a warrant, that's ridiculous. That's like the monitoring of the president, say, oh, well, we're going to pick and choose who we're going to assassinate, American citizen or not. But we have monitors. We're going to study this. That's the rule of law. What he's doing is repealing the Magna Carta. You can't just do these kind of things. And this one is not only repealing the principles of liberty, but it's destroying the Constitution. So my question should be to all of you who defend this nonsense is, what should the penalty be for the people who destroy the Constitution? They're always worried about how they're going to destroy the American citizens who tell the truth to let us know what's going on. But we ask the question, what is the penalty for the people who deliberately destroy the Constitution and rationalize and say, oh, we have to do it for security? Well, you know what Franklin said about that. You end up losing, you lose your security and you lose your freedoms too. So I think we've embarked on a very, very dangerous course. The American people are with us on this. It's totally out of control. And I would say if you're confused about what we should do, just read the Constitution. What's wrong with that?
Well,
you know, that gives us pretty good guidelines. If you don't like it, get people to repeal it and change the Constitution, but not just to deny it. I mean, we go to war without a declaration. We totally ignore the Constitution. That is what our problem is today. We have no rule of law, and people say, well, just let secret courts do this, and the government's to know everything, and the American people are to have no privacy. I mean, that reflects an intimidation. People are insecure and think that we need more authoritarianism. You're justifying dictatorship is what you're doing.
Yeah. You're justifying a dictatorship. That's what you're doing. Good job, Ron Paul. I'm not a Ron Paul humper or whatever, nut hugger or whatever, but he's damn right on this. I mean, it is everything against what America was supposed to be. I mean, isn't it just a perverted, twisted, dystopian nightmare what our society has become? And I say we and our because I'm in Canada, right? The same shit's going on here. All right, I just put up a video the other day, which few people have watched, but it was the Peter MacKay, our defense minister, who hey, guess what? Oh, 2011, he authorized a ministerial action. Didn't even go through the House. Nobody knew about it. He authorized CSEC, which is our version of the NSA, to watch people's computers, collect metadata, as they call it, metadata. And then the supporters of this kind of stuff will say, well, it's just metadata. It's not just metadata. Let's not kid ourselves. Fucking, they're collecting everything and everything they can. Okay. So, Chris Hedges wrote a column here, the judicial lynching of Bradley Manning, and Chris Hedges, one of these great journalists that is out there that is trying to beat the drums to warn everybody what's happening. The Bradley Manning is the trial. Bradley Manning is judicial lynching. The government has effectively muzzled the defense team. The Army, private first class, is not permitted to argue that he had a moral and legal obligation under international law to make public the war crimes that he uncovered. The documents that detail the crimes, torture, and killing of Manning torture and killing that Manning revealed, because they are classified, have been barred from discussion in the court, effectively removing the fundamental issue of war crimes from the trial. Manning is forbidden by the court to challenge the government's unverified assertion that he harmed national security. Lead defense attorney David E. Coombs said during the pre-trial proceedings that the judge's refusal to permit information on the lack of actual damage from the leaks would eliminate a viable defense and cut defense off at its knees. And this is what has happened. So that they have no interest in giving this guy a fair trial. Manning is also barred from presenting to court his motives for giving the website WikiLeaks hundreds of thousands of classified diplomatic cables, war logs from Afghanistan and Iraq, and videos. The issues of his motives and potentially harming national security can be raised only at the time of sentencing, but by then, of course, it will be too late. The draconian trial restrictions, familiar to many Muslim Americans tried in the so-called War on Terror, presage a future of show trials and blind obedience. Our emails and phone records, it is now confirmed, are swept up and stored in perpetuity on government computers. Those who attempt to disclose government crimes can easily be traced and prosecuted under the Espionage Acts. Whistleblowers have no privacy and no legal protection. This is why Edward Snowden, a former CIA technical assistant who worked for a defense contractor with ties to National Security Agency and who leaked to Glenn Greenwald at The Guardian the information about the National Security's top secret program to collect Americans' cell phone metadata, email, and other personal data, has fled the United States. The First Amendment is dead. There is no legal mechanism left to challenge the crimes of the power elite. We are bound and shackled. And those individuals who dare to resist face the prospect, if they remain in the country, of joining Manning in prison, perhaps the last refuge for honest and brave. It's where it's gotten to. You know, these people who risk their lives to try to save the Constitution, to try to save the freedoms that Americans took for granted for far too long, are now being effectively squashed by the state. And their kangaroo court trials are just a little three-ring circus for the fucking media to jump on. And you want to talk about three-ring circuses? The dumb turds. Look at this. This is what they're fucking reporting on. Being a whistleblower is sexy. We have one of the most serious revelations in American history come forth. And the media that the teens and the youth listen to, or a lot of them do, is talking about, is this guy sexy? Let's listen to how the dumb turds once again completely embarrassed themselves.
News story of the day, of course, is Edward Snowden. But some people are not focusing on the fact that he is the person who did the NSA leak. They would rather focus on the way he looks.
Of course!
So, of course, there are a bunch of people on Twitter that are commenting on his physical appearance, and the majority of them are women. And it kind of makes me feel good, because for a really long time there was this misconception that men are the only ones that are shallow enough to just focus on a woman's looks. But I feel good that now there are women that are just focusing on a man's looks. And not
just as shallow, so, bless your heart.
Just as shallow. So now there's a nice balance between shallow men and shallow women. Anyway.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Anna, wonderful. Wonderful. Fucking gossip crap. This is what's going on. This is what these fucking turds are reporting on. The guy's fucking looks. And she's making a big thing. Whoa, it makes me feel better. Kind of makes me feel better. Makes me fit in. I feel like, you know, now I'm part of, you know, I feel like I fit in better now because, you know, now at least it's not just men that are looking at women and, you know, and of course, the fat turd. Of course. The fucking retard. God, whenever I watch this is why I don't watch these people, but I had to watch this.
Let me read you some of the tweets that Salon highlighted in their article. One person by the name of Joanna writes, "Snowden is so hot." Hashtag side note.
Thanks for
Another
sharing.
person writes,
But, you know, to be fair to her, it's just a side note.
Just a side note.
Okay.
Another person writes, "I think Edward Snowden is actually quite hot." Little heart. Hashtag Edward Snowden. hashtag CIA, hashtag whistleblower. You guys can read it.
Okay.
All right.
I like that there's a hashtag CIA with that dude is so hot. Okay. Keeping it classy. What else?
Eleanor M. writes, Edward Snowden is freaking hot. Hashtag missing the point.
Again, credit to her, because
Yeah.
she gets it, right?
Yeah.
So she's like, I know I'm missing the point. Little.
Yeah, I like the self-awareness with most of these tweets.
Definitely.
Like, for instance, Sophia says, I know it's a bit shallow, but Edward Snowden is kind of hot, isn't he? Now on Tumblr. Edward Snowden kind of hot, .tumblr.com, which, by the way, I checked out, and it's just hilarious that people have...
Oh my god. You guys feeling the pain like I am? I mean, isn't it just painful? They're actually reporting on fucking idiot tweets. They're showing and they're reading the hashtags out. Why don't they just fucking pull out their breakfast sodas while they're at it, fuck? This show is the worst show going, period. These fuckers.
dedicated a Tumblr to his looks. Which, by the way, I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, to each his own. Not really my type, you know? But it's amazing how there's this huge story, and we're talking about, you know, your privacy being violated. The fact that government officials are collecting all of this data on you. And instead of focusing on that, you're like, yeah, totally digging the glasses.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. The people tweeting that he is hot are getting 15, 20 seconds of their tweet up on this very popular show. And this girl has the gall to come out and say, after doing this whole thing, to say, well, you know, we really should just be talking about the issues because, of course, the government is watching everything you do and it's very unconstitutional. But then again, you know, it's fun to look at these comments because, well, of course. Let's listen to the fucking...
No, look, I don't mind that. Everybody's going to make... Look, we're human beings, and you immediately think, whether you want to admit it or not, the first nanosecond, whether you're even aware of it or not, hot or not hot, right? And so they do it in the context of this story, and they're self-deprecating about it, etc. I got no problems with it. And as you said, I'm sure guys would do it. Like, I'll say it, right? And so let me now proceed to get myself in trouble. Okay, he's a normal-looking dude. Okay?
Of course he's a normal-looking dude.
Okay, and I love him. I think he's an American patriot. Okay? But that's what, like, the point I want to make is not about his looks. It's that the minute anyone's in the press, their looks immediately skyrocket.
Also,
if you saw that dude in the street, you wouldn't have been sending tweets. Okay, but he's in the news, and look, to their credit, maybe they thought it was hot that he's being courageous. You know?
Yes,
then great.
So let's discuss that a little bit, because I think it shows a huge difference between men and women when, it comes to attraction. So for men, I think that they're good at focusing solely on a woman's appearance when they're judging her hotness. But for women, I think that they look at this guy, and for some reason, they put on, like, the power goggles, right?
Oh, that's good. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, it's like, oh, he's so courageous. Like, you know what I mean? Oh.
Hey, good. I like that, man, because, I'd rather be just as something that isn't my look. So, well, I can be courageous. I like tacos.
No, women love power. And they also love, like, a guy who does something brave or courageous, or if he's super smart. Like, girls get turned on by guys who are smart, who can make them laugh. And he doesn't have to necessarily be the most attractive guy on the planet. He left his $200,000 a year job to be a whistleblower. Oh. You know what I mean?
I'll blow my whistle.
So that's how women are, and I think it's hilarious.
But that's a good thing, man. It's much better than just like, oh, okay, hot or not, and I'm done. That's the end of the conversation, right? As opposed to hot or not, and it's partly based on something he's done.
I can't even... I mean, that's what it's gotten to. That's your news. That's your fucking news. They actually put a whole segment on people tweeting about this guy being hot. That's why. That's exactly why the sheeple don't see the danger. They should be talking nothing but about how awful and evil this fucking thing is. But instead, Cenk is talking about maybe he wants to come and play your whistle. Maybe Cenk wants him to come and blow his whistle. I don't know. But what an utter and complete failure this fucking idiot program is. And I'm not even going to dignify Cenk Uygur by giving him a Cenk Uygur's an idiot number 5, because we already got 4 up, right, to fucking expose this piece of shit and his fucking bullshit show. And before, the last one I put up was when the dumb turds had their breakfast sodas, and they took they all broke open a can, took a sip, said, oh, it tastes good. Oh, yeah. Well, you gonna try it? What do you think? Take another swig. Ah, cheers. And then, well, of course, kids shouldn't be drinking this stuff in the morning because it's not exactly healthy, but, it does taste good, maybe later in the day. That's what it's come to. They just had their thing where they celebrated 1 billion views. 1 fucking billion views. Right? And this is what people are watching. This fucking airheaded, stupid fucking bitch and that fat, dumb tub of shit. Shown it 1,000,000 times. Show it again. When you look onto YouTube, you get popular on YouTube, music, sports, gaming, movies. You will get your boobs. You will get your video games. Here's a Minecraft epic jump finale. 500,000 views. 500,000 views to watch people play video games. Meanwhile, your state is completely out of control. That's because YouTube and Google are all part of it. Official PlayStation News game and an instructional video. Over 2 million views 13 hours ago. This is what people are being inundated with on a daily basis. They've gotten people so stupid that all they care about: music, sports, gaming, and movies. There's no news, there's no history, there's no science, there's no politics. It's nothing. It's just nothing but fucking crap. And this is why the police state is here. The sheeple are the greatest threat to humanity. It's the sheeple's fault that we're in this situation. They refuse to wake up. And they're gonna fucking take us all down with them. We're gonna end up with these shaytards. I don't know if I've ever been so disheartened in a podcast as I am today. It sucks the life out of me to see what's going on. There should be lining up with pitchforks and torches outside the White House. Obama should be arrested, immediately put on trial, charged with treason. But instead, people are gonna go click on their shaytards daily video, whatever the fuck that is. Rot their brains some more. Drink some GMO'd corn sugar beverage. Plug into their Xbox One that's gonna watch them turn into a fat, sick, bloated sheeple who won't live past middle age. I'm fucking pissed. I'm really fucking pissed. It seems like nothing can be revealed that will change anything. Thanks to the young turds, the dumb turds, for this. This is the type of culture that, this is the world that we're going to be stuck with. I don't even know what to say.